right, it is 8 o'clock. We are live right now. All right, Master Your Money with Eric Anderson. Let's see, we got folks joining us. Letting it hit all those platforms as y'all keep coming in today. All right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. All right, let's see here. We are live, and let's see. All right, just gonna get a few more moments. Allow some folks to jump on in today. All right, we got some folks joining us. So, good evening. Good evening. Get on in here. Come on in here. This looks like tonight's topic is going to be really interesting. Really interesting. This is going to be really, really good. So, those of you coming in, please, get your snack. If you already ate dinner, get your little side snack. We will be starting here momentarily. All right, all right. Those of you tuning in right now, can you hear us? Please let us know. Drop something in the chat. Uh, please let us know that you can hear us, that you can see us. Um, just want to make sure you're there. Just acknowledge your presence. You're here. Master Your Money with Eric Anderson. All right. Wait a few more moments and we're going to get started. A few more moments. Something to think about for those who are joining us right now. I know we're going to start by 2 more minutes. But let's take some time to reflect when we think about the clarity in your cash flow. Most people are just trying to figure this thing out, right? They so on what our money is going, where our money is going. So find some clarity. All right, y'all coming in? All right, cool. Thanks. Y'all can hear us? Awesome. Awesome. Let's see here. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and dive into here. Eric, how you feeling?
I'm good, sir. How you doing?
Doing good, doing good.
Long day.
Long day?
Yes, sir.
All right, all right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the live Master Your Money with Eric Anderson. I'm your host, Isaac Rowe. Tonight, we're getting into something really, I'm being excited about all week about this because this is something we've been talking about. Um, that every grown adult needs to hear, but really slows down enough to really understand cash flow clarity, where our money is going. Not everybody were raised in an environment where they learned about money. They really learned we didn't have enough money to even figure out how to budget because there wasn't nothing to budget, right? There wasn't nothing to move around. And so now we work hard, we're moving and grooving, we pay bills, we take care of everybody around us. But if we are really being honest, a lot of us still don't know where our money is actually going. And it's not because we are irresponsible at times, it's just because nobody taught us how to track our cash flow with confidence. And that's something we're going to be talking about tonight, is understanding your money in a way that finally makes sense, right, Eric? No judgment. There's no judgment here, no shame, no financial jargon, just clarity, just clarity. And we just want to make sure that we don't dodge the hard questions, right? We're gonna really dive in and say, hey, this is the truth, right? And what needs fixing needs fixing. So let's settle into this live, and I hope share this. If those of you are joining us right now, share this with somebody. If you have any questions, please drop it in the comments, and let's introduce the man of the hour right here, Eric Anderson, CFO strategist. and someone who knows how to break things down. I always call him AKA the Dream Killer. I always call him the Dream Killer because every time I have an idea or something, he says that he gives me the pros and cons. However, I
You're
feel like you just deflated my little hot air balloon,
uh,
and and now I'm just falling down to the sky, right? So my brother, my friend, the voice, Master Your Money, Eric Anderson. Let's go, sir. How you feeling?
I'm good. I'm good. Let's get into
Good.
it.
Let's get into it. Where we at right now with this cash flow clarity, sir? What
So
should we be thinking about? What are the certain things that we should be thinking about and reflecting about where our money goes and versus living paycheck to paycheck? And I get my check, but it's already spent before I before I go. Like, where do I need to go from this point and to that point? Like, just take us through that journey.
So, a lot of times when I do consulting with clients, one of the biggest things is a lot of people, as we're saying today, have no clue where their money's going. As crazy as that sounds, we just get paid depending on where you work and stuff like that. You get paid once a month, every 2 weeks, first and the 15th, whatever, how that works out at your job. Like you said, the money gets direct deposited into my account. I either have stuff that's being taken out of my account by wires or I pay my bills. And then I pretty much don't worry too much about my money again until I get paid. Until I get paid again. So again, we're really not really diving in and taking a look at what we are actually spending all of our stuff on a monthly basis. We pretty much know obviously how much our mortgage is or our rent, how much our car note is. You see how much your insurance and things like that are. But it's, I like to call them the variable expenses. Those fluctuate so much that we really do not know how much we're spending every month on groceries, going out, entertainment, subscriptions, things like that, because it's stuff that we are really not honed in on. We're more worried about just making sure that our fixed expenses are being paid. As long as those are being taken care of every month, we usually say, well, as long as all my bills are paid, that's what people say all the time, right? As long as all my bills are paid, I'm good. But if you really deep dive into your what you're actually spending your money on, what your expenses are every month, there are ways that you could not live paycheck to paycheck. There are ways that you can get yourself out of debt. There are ways that you could start to save money, but it starts with your budget. And a lot of adults do not have a budget. I guarantee you, a large amount of people on this call, if I say, could you send me your budget on what you spend on everything on average on a monthly basis, most people could not send that to you. A lot of clients, when we talk about it, they guesstimate what they believe their groceries are or what their entertainment, all these things that they're paying on a monthly basis. But when we actually have them look into their bank statements and deep dive and take a look into your money. And when I say deep dive, because it keeps going in my mind when people say, oh, what is the best thing to use to be able to do that? If it's Mint or something from your bank or anything like that, those are good. But I tell people a lot of times to actually get a precise amount. It might be better for you to have some type of spreadsheet where you are actually going through your numbers on a monthly basis, reconciling your account, and taking a look at what you really and truly spend your money on every month. You'd be amazed if you saw all the subscriptions that you're paying for, all the groceries that you're paying for, all the going out, things like that, that you could really and truly be saving money on. You're on mute. Oh. So, I would definitely say if you do not have a budget, I would definitely, when we get off this call, I would definitely tell you to figure out a budget. And if you're somebody who does not have a budget sheet, that's absolutely fine. Just click in the chat or go to info at thefinancialturtle.com. Just send us an email and I will send you a blank budget sheet and give you an explanation on how to start a budget.
Nice, nice, man. When I think about the budget, it's interesting because I think sometimes it's looking at the truth,
Correct. And usually
right?
that's the problem is we
Is
really don't want to, we really don't want to look at the truth. We want to avoid it. We just want to, like I said, we just want to pay our bills every month, make sure we have money to do what we think we want to do. but we never want to actually sit down and tackle this problem. And again, it just continues a cycle, just continues a cycle. And instead of sitting down and saying, hey, I really need to take a look at how much money we're spending on this or how much money we're spending on that. And if there's ways we can cut that, we can bring that down. You know what I'm saying? A great example of that would be um, if I put in my in my budget that I can only spend a certain amount of money on groceries, and I stuck to that budget, you'd have that mindset when you went to the grocery store, as opposed to just saying, hey, it is what it is. When I go to the grocery store, if I feel like buying something that I usually don't buy, something that's going to be very expensive or whatever, but I feel like buying that today, you don't stick to a budget. So you just end up buying that stuff. And that can end up knocking your budget all out of whack. Or things like
Yeah.
that, even going out. If there's some concert or something and you want to buy those tickets, but it's not within your budget this month, or you want to go on this vacation and it's not within your budget. If you don't have a budget, then that's not a conversation, right? It's just putting it on your credit card or doing whatever you got to do these type of things, as opposed to saying, I have a goal and I need to stick to my goal. And by sticking to that goal, there are certain sacrifices that I have to make. There are certain type of things that I cannot do because my budget will not allow it. But the problem is, like I said, we're all adults. A lot of adults do not like to be told what to do, even if it's you who's telling you that. It's not me telling you that. It's you and the budget that you're sticking to. If you're trying to stick to this budget and you're saying, I can only spend such and such amount of money on my wants, we'll call them wants this time, on my wants this month, I can't go over this number. And a lot of times that's up to you to be able to make that sacrifice and stick to your budget. But again, the main number one problem, I'm going to say it again, is most people do not have a budget. So it's hard to stick to something that you do not have.
You know what, Eric? I think we're in that space where I'm just gonna swipe and pray. I think we're just gonna try to just swipe and pray and just hope everything just gets paid. And but I know one of the things when I think about when what would be your advice when, like, they would say, well, if you got the points and you use your credit card, is it better to use that as a way to budget, right? And it's like, well, I'm spending money, but it's on the credit card to get the points. I can really get myself in a
Correct.
pickle
Correct.
if I'm not, paying attention, and I
And
don't know if you
paying
can
it
hook
off.
up.
Yeah. And
Hmm.
not paying it off by the end of the month. So then you end up having to pay all this interest. And then what's worse is the credit card company, they're so good to you that if I'm consistently making these payments and paying it off every month, then they say, okay, they just keep raising your limit. And then before you know it, and then before you know it, your credit card is so high that now you can't pay it back on a monthly basis. I saw that question come up. What was that question?
Yeah, it was what's a good budget structure example.
So for me, and again, like I said before, it's very hard if you are, I'm going to say, an adult. And what I mean by that is you already have bills, you're already living your lifestyle and things like that. But when I talk to young adults, when I talk to kids in college and younger kids, we always talk about the 50-30-20 rule, right? And the reason why we talk about that is because, again, if my fixed expenses are 50% of my income, my variable are 30, and then I'm investing and saving 15 to 20%, if things happen, I can always take from the investment part, or I can move my variable expenses around, correct? If I'm doing way more than 50% in my fixed, it is very, very hard in order for me to move those expenses around, right? Because usually your fixed expenses are what? It's your home, your car, your insurances, and things like that. So the only way you can get rid of those type of expenses are selling your home, selling your car, or the other way of looking at it is I got to make more money, right? So if I make more money, that expands my pie or my revenue or income in this situation. So then obviously that puts more money into the pie. So then it can kind of balance it out. But the problem with that is what? Lifestyle creep. So a lot of people feel if I'm in that situation and I say, well, if I make more money, I can get out of the situation. But usually, if I make more money, I buy more fixed expenses, sadly. And then that's how, like I said, when you see people who say they make hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, but they're still living check to check, it's because they're not doing the 50/30/20 rule, right? Again, it's back to my fixed expenses are 70, 75% of my income, which is crazy when you think about it. Basically, like I said, in that case, that is definitely a situation where as soon as I get paid, my money's gone, right? If 70, 75% of my income is my mortgage, my car note, my insurances, um, student debt, credit cards, all that stuff, you're right. I have no money to do any type of wiggle room with. As soon as I get paid, all my money's gone. So you really need to try to figure out definitely to bring all your fixed expenses down. Yes, sir, Jeff. Exactly. It's how much you spend. So you definitely need to, no matter how much money you make, even like I said, when I talk to young adults, when we're starting out, it's like, hey, I just started this job at McDonald's or Chick-fil-A or whatever, or even if I'm someone who's just getting an allowance, you need to already have that mindset that I cannot spend all of my money. Matter of fact, I really should not be spending more than 50% of my money on bills that I have to pay every month. You need to say, okay, this it goes to paying all the fixed expenses, but then this other 50% gives me wiggle room. Again, there are variable expenses that you have to pay, but you have the wiggle room of being able to drop those expenses down. Like I said, a great example of that would be the grocery store. If I'm looking at my budget and let's say I'm in a household and we're spending $800 a month in groceries and I want to bring that down and I have the mindset that I want to drop that down from 800 to 600, I'm going to have that mindset when I go to the grocery store, right? Instead of saying I have no clue how much I'm spending on groceries every month, I'm just going to the grocery store. So those are definitely the type of mindset you have to have. If I say, okay, I can only spend such and such amount if I go on this vacation. So you might go on a cruise and you might not be able to drink as much as you want. You might not be able to gamble as much as you want to, correct? Or if I want to go buy some clothes or buy some shoes or something like that, and I say I can't do that this month because that's not within my budget to be able to do that. But again, I keep on harping on it because that is, at the end of the day, that is the main problem with cash flow, not just individuals, for businesses, anyone. If you have no clue where your money's going, you are not going to understand and know the leaks and the different things that you can do to start saving money and not live check to check. Or if I own a business, to not build reserves, things like that. It is really, really important to have a budget. Even when I talk to business owners, when we have these conversations, I always tell them, especially if that is your whole income is your business, you definitely need to have two budgets. And whatever your household budget is, meaning what you have to pay yourself in order to pay your bills, that number has to definitely be an expense on your business. So when I send budget sheets out to people and stuff like that, I always send the individual because those are pretty much, hey, we know these type of things. But for a business, you definitely need to have a budget for your business as well to have an understanding of how much it costs every month to operate your business. And again, if that's your only income, you are an expense for your business. So the money that you are moving in, be it a salary, be it a distribution, however you're paying yourself from your business to you personally, that is an absolute expense for you. So you need to definitely put that on your business budget. So definitely have two budgets if you are a business owner, and you need to have two budgets if you're a business owner and individually. And then if you're somebody who's W-2, goes to a job and things like that, then you definitely need to have an individual budget.
You know what? It's that's a good point that you made there, Eric. because when you think about the budget, and you just, if for example, I know we have some real examples of some folks who know they have a budget but choose to pay for $1,000 truck, right? So, $1,000 truck, you see this, you can do this and do that. And these are the things I guess when we talk about lifestyle creep and moving expenses and moving to a bigger place, nicer place, newer place, something of that nature, and it's not in the budget to do that, but or go to that cruise or go on that vacation, yet you spend time, you spend the money and time and energy to, work more hours, do what you need to do to make Christmas happen, right?
Yep.
Christmas happen is coming up, right? So you want to go on a cruise, you want to get this, new or rent this new place or a new apartment or a new house or something, or you want to get a new house, or just whatever that is, and it doesn't really fit in the budget, but you're like, hey, we'll just make it work. We'll figure it out, because sometimes, especially if you're in relationships, sometimes that can be some of the driving factors. I don't know if is that your case when you think about some of your clients is like, hey, there's this person and this person, wife or husband wants to buy this truck, or they want to go on this cruise or take the kids somewhere this, over here to Disneyland or Disney World or whatever. And this is not in the budget, but you're like, you know what? The kids need to do this. We haven't been able to do this. We're unable to do this. And it's always this where, robbing Peter to pay Paul, check to check, something like that. But you're like, you're gonna risk it, at least do something. What would you say to those people? What would that look like, Eric?
I would tell somebody in that situation. So let's say I want to go on a vacation once a year. I would say, okay, so you need to work it in your budget to make that another expense. Meaning, let's say, I'll just throw out a number to make it easy for us. Let's say that it's $1,200 to go on a cruise or whatever. I know it's way more expensive if you're taking kids and stuff like that. But okay, let's say 2,400. And again, I know that's low too. But let's say there's something I want to do and it's going to cost me $2,400. You can do it one of two ways. Most people, what do? They go get a credit card and now they got to pay that credit card every month, right? The other way on that is if I know I'm going to do that, then I need to work it out in my budget. Again, that word, you need to work it out within your budget to be able to save $200 a month. So when it comes time to go on that vacation, I've saved the money to go on the vacation, right? I've put it in some type of savings account, a high yield savings account or something like that, to where I've made the sacrifice throughout the year where I've given up some type of variable expense, as crazy as it sounds, something as simple as saying, hey, we want to do this, so we can't go out on the weekends. We can't go out every weekend, so we need to save money every month. Or I'm going to brown bag it because we got to save every money every month. I know it sounds crazy, but at the same time, if I really want to do this thing and my budget doesn't allow me right now to be able to save the type of money I need to save to be able to do that, then I have to make those sacrifices. You have to make those sacrifices because, again, at the end of the day, like you said, putting on a credit card, it might make sense to you today because you're like, okay, I'm able to go because I put it on a credit card, but now I've created another expense, right? And the crazy part is now I've got to fit that expense into my budget, right? It's almost like when we do taxes and somebody has a tax bill and they say, how do I not have a tax bill? And one of the simplest things is saying what? Change your W-4, right? If you change your W-4, they're going to take more money out of your check. So then you'll have more money at the end of the year. And then people say, well, I can't afford to live off of the check if they take more money out. But then when you do your taxes, then you say, I need to call and do what? Set up a payment plan. So now that bill is part of my expenses now, right? Because I got to pay that bill every month. So now that's a bill that I'm having to, by no choice of my own, I have to pay that. So I have to fit that into my into my expenses every month, as opposed to me saying, no, I need to change my W-4 or whatever I need to do, or put money into put more yeah change my W-4, put more money into my 401k, open up a traditional IRA, things like that to try to bring my taxes down. When we talk about those things, people say, Eric, I can't afford to do that because then that's less money that's going to come to me. But then when you do your taxes, you end up getting a tax bill, and now you have a tax bill that you have to pay every month. So again, it just creates another bill for you. So would it be easier for you to go ahead and make that change now, or do you want to wait until you get that bill from the IRS, and not only having to pay that back, you're having to pay interest on it as well when you're making that monthly payment? And the same thing with the credit card. Would you rather save that money every month to be able to do that, or just keep throwing it on a credit card and then paying all this interest on this credit card every month? So again, in order to do these things, if it's something that's not within your budget today, again, basically, like somebody said, Maya said, you're basically, I don't want to say you're living above your means. I do not want to say that. But there are things that obviously, if I want to go on vacations, I want to do certain things like that, then I have to fit that in my budget. And if I can't fit it in within my budget, then you basically are living above your means. It's rough to say that, but it's the absolute truth. I know, dream killer and all that, people are like, man, you're crazy. If you think I'm not going to go on vacation or do these type of things, whatever. I'm not telling you can't go on vacation. I'm saying you need to fit it in your budget to be able to afford to do it. And if that means I got to make some adjustments in order to set up a separate account for me to say, hey, this is our vacation fund or whatever. And then when it comes time to go on that, instead of going to your credit card, you can go into that fund and then you can pay for that vacation. Same thing. If I'm going to move into a new house, right? Don't I need to set up a fund because I know my bill is going to be more expensive? Or if I'm going to go trade the car in and something like that, maybe I need to think about setting up a different fund to where I'm putting money into that account. So not only am I saving money for it, I'm proving to myself that I can afford it, right? Because again, if I have a $300 car payment today and I go buy a new car and it's 500, I'm going to have to figure out that adjustment, right? Something's going to have to give because like I say to people all the time, your money is a pie. It's 100%. So if I'm at 100% now and I create a $200 expense and I got to put that into the pie, what has to happen? Something has to give, right? So something that I'm doing, I've got to get $200 from somewhere. So I got to move that $200 from something, or I got to make 200 more dollars. The choice is yours, but you've got to make that adjustment. So I always tell people that if somebody's getting ready to move out of an apartment and move into a home, the first thing I say is, how much money do you have in the bank? And I'm not talking just about your down payment. How much money do you have in the bank? And if somebody's saying, hey, we're living check to check, we really don't have a savings account, that's not the move. There are various reasons why we can talk about that. Something that you saw us happen in the last 2 days in my own home that is being entertaining right now, right? It's being entertaining right now. And I
Yeah.
got to pay for that. And I got to pay for that because I own this home and I got to pay for that. So imagine if all this time I've been renting a home, living in an apartment, and the AC goes out. I just call the landlord, I call the leasing agent, lease office, and by the time I get home from work, it's fixed, right? But I don't got to pay anything. But in my situation, if I own a home, I got to pay for that. So you need to take that into account. If I'm living in an apartment or something like that and I want to move into a home, I got to take into account that even if most people say I own a home because the mortgage is less than what I'm paying for rent, that's not really true, right? When you think of all the stuff that you have to pay for, it's not just your mortgage. When you own your home, it's not just your mortgage. And we're veering off the budget part.
I know. So, but that's
But
good because
this is the conversation. It
this is
is.
the conversation because we did have a question. We did have a question, so we'll put it up on here. So, if I have the ability to pay off my current mortgage, 100, I think it's 100 plus K, should I do that or use those funds to make money to pay it off?
I
Right?
love this question. I get this question all the time. I love this question. So the first thing I would take a look at, I would take a look at what the interest rate I am paying on my mortgage. So if I have a very, very low interest rate on my mortgage,
Define low, Eric.
so 4%, 4 or 5%, I know that's very rare today, but there are people who have interest rates that low. I
Three point
personally
seven
know,
five. So
yes,
you said 3.75. I know
correct.
mine's like 2 point something.
So yeah, for your home,
Yeah.
good. That's what I'm saying. But most people, it's way more than that.
Yeah.
And
It's like
so if
six.
yeah, so if I'm paying that low of an interest rate on my home and I legitimately can find something that is giving me a better rate of return. So like he said, let's say I have $100,000 sitting in the bank and I'm investing in something that's paying me way more than the 2.5, what you say, 2.75 you said you're paying? Is that what you said you're paying for yours?
Mine's 2.885.
Okay, 2.85.
2.85.
So
Jeff, I think Jeff said his was 3.75.
great. So if Jeff can find something that's giving him a better rate of return, then yeah, I could see doing that. The problem is a lot of people like the peace of mind of saying I'm debt free. If I lost my job or something like that happened, a lot of people would rather just be debt free and then take the money that they were paying the mortgage on and then start investing. You understand what I'm saying? But the people can say, well, no, I can do this instead, and it's going to grow the interest rate, the compound interest and all that stuff. And again, this is still just doing the 3.75. So it is something to think about. Some people, again, like I said, they would rather be debt free. They rather have the peace of mind of knowing that their mortgage is paid off. They don't have to worry about it or anything like that. So they would rather do that. But it's not wrong to have the mindset of saying, I've got something that I'm doing that's giving me a way higher rate of return than that. The thing I would caution that a lot of people do, I get this phone call all the time because my house is paid off basically. I get the call all the time of people saying, do you want to get a HELOC for your business? Do you want to get a HELOC for your business? The part I would caution on that is if I'm taking money out of my home, like to go and buy more properties or start a business or do all these type of things, the thing I would caution obviously is what I'm putting my home at risk, right? So say I take this money out to go start a business and the business fails. What if I take the money out to go buy crypto and it falls apart? So I've lost that money, but now my home is at risk because I've taken equity out of my home. So that would be my only caution for it. This is a different situation. Like he said, he didn't say he was taking $100,000 out of his home. He said he had $100,000 sitting outside of his home. So that's a different conversation as opposed. So again, if he lost, so what I mean by that is if he lost that $100,000, he wouldn't lose his home, right? If I took 100,000 in equity out of my home to go do something and I lose that money, now my home is at risk because I took that $100,000 out of the equity in my home. So that would be the only thing I would caution. Again, like I say all the time, I'm just giving you the pros and the cons. I'm not telling you to do something or not to do something. I'm just telling you that you need to think about the good and the bad of whatever decision that you make. So
Elijah said, when is a HELOC appropriate?
for me, in my opinion, never. Only if I'm absolutely broke. Because again, I wouldn't want to put my home at risk. But again, if somebody really and truly wants to start a business, so again, I'm just saying me. I'm not saying they're not appropriate. I would, if the only way I would do it is if I absolutely needed the money to do it.
Okay.
So
And,
again, but
and
I'm
just
not.
break down what a HELOC actually is, Eric. Could you
So a
break that down?
HELOC is a home equity loan on your house. So let's say I have a $750,000 home. It has $600,000 in equity in it. I can get a HELOC where I'm basically taking a loan out of my home. So say I get like 400 or 500,000 out of my home. So now I have basically another. So now I basically have a loan on my home. So I can take that money. A lot of people, like you said, a lot of people take that money and say the HELOC is like 7%. And I know this because again, like I said, someone called me today and asked me, did I want to do a HELOC? And he said it's like 7%. And I was like, I don't need any money. I don't want to do it. But so say I take a HELOC out of my home, and I'm paying it back at a 7% rate, but then I go and buy rental properties, or I go and invest, and I go do things that, again, like with the thing with Jeff, like we said, it's where it's giving me a much higher rate of return than the 7% that I'm paying to pay the HELOC back. If that works for you, again, like I said, I've heard of many people say that's how they've grown all their real estate properties, is by, I have a property, I get all this equity in it, I take the HELOC, and then I go buy another property. Then I do that, and I keep on, doing that. I just keep on buying homes, building equity in them, and then taking HELOCs out of them, and doing that and doing that. Again, so again, I'm not saying that is something that you can't do. But to answer Elijah's question, I definitely would not take a HELOC out unless I don't want to say guaranteed, but I would not do it on a whim. I would not just do it to start a business. You understand what I'm saying? That I don't have proof of concept, or I don't have proof that that business is going to work. I don't know if I would even take it out if I have a business that isn't making money. Correct? Because I have to pay that HELOC back. But if I have something that I know is going to give me a much better rate of return than me taking the HELOC out, then I could see doing that. But
That's a
again,
big risk.
that's when we watch all these videos, these Dave Ramsey videos and people like that. That's what happens, right? People take out HELOCs, and then when the balloon payment and all that stuff comes up, they're getting ready to lose their home, because even though they might have had good intentions with that money, not like they went out and bought a Tesla or a G-Wagon or nothing like that. They actually took the money out to try to go grow their business, or they took the money out to go get another property and stuff, and those type of things fall apart. It happens, right? And so now, if that happens to you, now the home that you actually live in is at risk. So it's like, are you willing to take that risk?
That's interesting, because when I think of like taking risk, we've all taken risk and betting ourselves and all that good stuff. When it comes to your home, it gets a little tricky, right? Especially
That's
if
why I said never. Yeah,
you
that's
got
why I said
kids, and I think this is the kind of depending on where you are in life, right? If you are 30, 20, 28, 30, it might be different than the 52-year-old, right? So I think of like that risk versus they probably got a little bit more time to recover,
correct.
versus to take that risk versus the 52-year-old that's like, I'm trying to retire, right? Like there's a mindset of, I'm trying to get here,
Yep,
and if I risk this, do this, or I'm unable to make that payment in the next, so I'm 50, I'll be 80 or 70
exactly,
something, you
exactly.
know. Now we got 50-year mortgages. Now we got to at least live to 150 now, right?
Please,
So
please don't ask me my opinion on that. Please don't
I
ask me.
don't just play, but just
Yeah,
just
no,
to
no.
look at that, is that depending on where you are in life, it not to say to take the risk, but I think that a 30-year-old versus a 50-year-old might not be the wisest thing at that. I think I wouldn't want to risk my home in my 50s, or in that regard, right? So that's just me, where I'm thinking I wouldn't want to
Well,
do that. If I was 30s, I probably want to risk it because I got time and I'm still building, and I'm moving some stuff around, and but when I get to like a little later in life, there's certain things I want to kind of have established, and I want to have a better foundation. So I don't know. That was just my thought
It's
process.
almost the mindset when people ask me what I invest in. And I'm older, so I tell people all the time, I really don't buy individual stocks anymore. I'm just in the S&P 500. I'm doing, REIT mutual funds. I'm doing different type of mutual funds because, again, like you said, I still don't plan on retiring for at least in like 15, 20 years. But I'm still in the mindset of, I really don't want to take as much risk as I would have taken 20 years ago, because I know I could recover 20 years ago if I'm in the stock market and doing all those type of things. Like I said, now I'm more comfortable saying, hey, I know this is going to give me an 8 to 10% return, and I'm fine with that. As opposed to the younger person who's like, I'm willing to take that risk, and this could give me a 20, 30% return, as opposed to, you're going to get 8 to 10% because what you're doing is less risky, but I'm willing to take that risk. And the same thing, something like a HELOC or something like that, that doesn't intrigue me. Like I said, I've worked my tail off to pay my house off in half the time. I took a 30-year mortgage and it's paid off in half of that time. So why would I now take all that equity out of it and then basically go right back to paying a mortgage when I did all that? Because I'm like, when I'm in my 60s and 70s, I don't want a mortgage. You know what I'm saying? If I take out a HELOC, now I have a HELOC, right? Unless what I invest in with the HELOC, I pay it all back off. But more than likely, you're just going to have that HELOC payment. And that's something that I don't want to do because, like I said, I don't want a house note. So I've been paying way more on the principal to pay it off early, right? That's when I was able to pay it off early. And so I definitely would not want to get back into the doing a HELOC. But again, I'm not the type of person who wants to go buy a bunch of real estate, go buy all of this kind of stuff. So again, it's not intriguing to me. So when I say never, I'm telling you because of my situation, because of my thought process, the way that I think about it, it's not something that I would want to do. But if Elijah wanted to sit down and talk about it, and Elijah explained, hey, I'm going to take this HELOC out, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that with it, and it's going to make me this type of money, it's a conversation. I wouldn't tell Elijah no. You know what I'm saying? If Elijah has it worked out, he has it thought in his head on how he wants to do and how he wants to make it work, we can definitely sit and have a conversation. I definitely would not say to him or anybody, I wouldn't say, no, I forbid you from doing that. No, I would never do that. But again, like you're saying, you really have to think about your situation, your station. You have to think about where you're at right now if you feel that is something that would be wise for you to do personally. So again, it's not cookie cutter when someone says when is the best time to do it, which situation, then you'd have to look at your overall situation.
Man, that's good. That's good. That's good, Eric. Someone said, made a comment, said they've always been told once you own a home, never sell it, use it to generate income or use it to write off taxes. As far as that, so but everybody has different
So,
strokes for different folks, right?
uh, duh, duh, duh. So you must be talking about a rental property, right
I'm
off on
just
your
saying, if I
taxes.
knew we were talking about home ownership,
Well, yeah,
so if
somebody's saying
you get the
generate
home,
income.
you don't want to get a HELOC, you want to keep the home, you don't want to sell it. If you're going to do anything, rent it out. If you're going
Yeah,
to do
that part.
anything, you
Yeah,
keep the
of
home,
course. Yeah, keep the
right?
home, rent it out. Yeah, of course. Because when that person said generate income and write off on your taxes, yeah, it has to be a rental property that we're talking about. Okay, just be clear. Yep,
Yeah, yeah, generate income. I was just like generate income if it's a rental property, and like, hey,
write off on your
I'm
taxes,
getting some
depreciation,
money,
and
and
all that stuff.
yeah,
Yeah,
for sure, for sure.
obviously. Yep, on a Schedule E. Yep, definitely.
That's good. That's good. Go ahead, segue real quick. What else we got? One of the things is like when you're talking about the budget, you cannot build what you cannot see, right? And one of the things that you talked about, and when they say this word, they call it balancing the budget, but it's called the what, Eric?
Reconciling.
Reconciling. You explain that because that's just
So,
when you think about, oh, I'm gonna reconcile. Did you reconcile your budget? I'm like,
no.
what is that, right? Like, what really is that
So
reconcile your
basically,
budget?
it's basically a it's more of a bookkeeping term. So so like when people use QuickBooks and stuff like that, when they say reconcile your bank accounts, you're basically balancing your bank account. So like if I have a bank account and the bank account says at the beginning of the month I had $25,000 in it, and then at the end of the month the bank account says I only have 21,000 in it, I have to go through all the revenue collected, all the expenses and everything like that. And going by that, if I reconcile my account at the end of the day, my expenses should be $4,000 more than my revenue, right? Because it started at 25 and it ended at 21. So if I reconcile my bank account, I should have $4,000 more expenses than I have in revenue. And then also when you're reconciling, you are also able to take a look at all the revenue collected and all the expenses collected. So when I talk to people about, when I say that I reconcile all my bank accounts every morning, I just make sure that what my ledger says should be in my bank account is what my bank account shows. And if I do that on a daily basis, if I look at all revenue collected and all expenses collected every month, I'm basically reconciling my bank account every month. So there's never any type of hiccup where, say, a few months down the road, all of a sudden, I'm like, what is this thing that happened? And I go back, and it could be something as simple as I'm charged something, or um, a lot of times people have subscriptions, be it gym subscriptions, subscriptions to all type of magazines and stuff like that, and you have no idea that you're paying it because you're not reconciling back to your account to see all the money that's coming out of your account. So that's a great thing to do, especially when you're trying to budget and you're trying to find money, because a lot of times I tell people when I tell them, when I give them the blank budget sheet and I say, take your bank statements and put everything on this balance sheet to see where all your money's going. And so basically reconciling or balancing back to their bank account, they'll see a lot of stuff. Again, it goes back to, you'll see what I'm spending a lot of money on every month that I had no clue I was spending it on. So there are a lot of things that you can cut, things that you're not even doing. Like you might be going to the gym, or you might have Legal Shield, or you might have different types of things that you had no idea that you'd been paying all this time. So when you see like the Mint commercials and stuff like that, where people cut off all their subscriptions and stuff, that's basically what they're talking about. Because most people have no clue that they're paying all these subscriptions, that they're paying all these things, because they never reconcile their bank account. They never take a look at what they're doing with their money every month, where their money is going. So
It's going to YouTube, Netflix, Disney, Amazon Prime. All these Spotify. All these little ones add up, right?
stuff
And I,
that
I realized
for
that
7 days
coffee, if you
free.
don't have it at home, gets expensive. Any
Correct.
beverage, anytime you step outside your house, it seems like it's a cost
Yeah.
associated with it, right? So I'm learning that, but that's something I'm like, if I go out, I gotta get it here. If I
Yeah.
gotta get the water here from my house, if I go out and I don't have water, now it means I gotta spend money on water,
And like
right?
I said, we don't think about it until we actually set a budget down. I mean, something as simple as crazy as it sounds, something as simple is as, if I go out to go do something and I'm coming back home and I say I'm gonna stop somewhere and eat, and I say I don't feel like spending that money. I have food at home. So you go home and you eat. You don't go out. You don't go out to dinner. You don't go out on the weekends and stuff like that. It's a mindset. But if you don't realize how much money you're spending, you're right. Um, it's like Starbucks is right around the corner. It's like going to Starbucks every morning. If I chose to go to Starbucks every morning, I don't. I have a Keurig. Is that how you say it?
That's a curious. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Those cups are 50 cents a piece. I'm drinking it right now. Those little cups are like less than 50 cents a piece, as opposed to paying like $5, $6 or whatever to buy the same thing, in my
But
opinion.
it's not the pumpkin spice latte though. Now,
All
people,
right.
that's good. As we close for this night, for this Master Your Money with Eric Anderson, thanks everyone for joining us. What are your takeaways for today, Eric? What are your takeaways? What are some of the
So
closing things you want them to learn about clarity, about their cash flow, their mindset, as far as dealing with their money, working with their money, and I guess the relationship they have with money and themselves with spending and stuff like that. So,
So
what are
again,
your
like I
closing?
said at the beginning, be it individual or even a business, you really need to have an understanding of where your money's going on a monthly basis. And most people, sadly, when people sit down and we have a conversation, the first thing that I ask people when we do consulting and doing budget meetings and stuff, I always say, can you send me your budget? And people always say, I don't have a budget, or they'll say, well, we'll create one real quick and send it to you. And you're like, okay. But again, it's like you really and truly need to have a budget. And once you have a budget, you really need to learn how to put it within. And again, 50/30/20 is something that I've kind of adapted, because it used to be, 70/20/10, or, something like that. You're putting 10% to investing, 20% to variable expenses or wants or whatever, and then living off of 70%. Um, but it's kind of moved itself around, especially with the way things are today. You really need to, if especially if you're trying to retire the way you want to retire and things like that, usually 10% is not going to get it. And not just that, the 10%, the 20% is not just me putting 10% to retirement. It's building up an emergency fund, it's building up a savings fund. And even in the case when we talked about if there's certain things that I want to do, part of that 20% could be I want to put that towards being able to go on vacation or buy this big product, thing that I want to buy and stuff like that. You can put that into the 20%, right? And then at the main thing is if my fixed expenses are the 50%, and then the variables are the 30, and you're doing that 20, you're always going to be good, right? Because if something happens, I could always go into that 20% to take care of it. But if I'm living 70, 75% of my income going into my fixed expenses, if something was to happen, where am I going to get that money from? That's when people have to go out here and get loans or get credit cards or all this crazy stuff that they have to do in order to take care of that emergency, right? If I have some type of emergency, like something happens to my house or some type of medical emergency or something like that, or my car breaks down and stuff like that, and I'm living where 75 to 80% of my income is going to fixed expenses, either I'm going to not pay something that month, right? Or I'm going to have to find that money someplace else. I think I said like in an earlier video, if something was to happen and I'm investing 20% of my money into retirement plans, into put into emergency fund or savings account, if some type of emergency happened, I could pause that, right? I could pause that and then be able to hopefully take care of whatever that situation is with the 20%. But if I don't have 20% of disposable income, I have to find that money someplace else. So you definitely, at the end of the day, I guess the best word to use, no matter what your income is, no matter what your level is, or anything like that, you need to live below your means. That is the main thing. If you are not able to save somewhere between 10 to 20% of your income, even if you have the money going to your 401k, you need to count that. But if you're somebody who has no type of retirement fund, no type of emergency fund, no type of savings account, you are living above your means. Even if you're able to pay all your bills and stuff like that, you are living above your means because you need to be able to start putting money into these type of accounts for emergencies, for savings, for retirement planning, all of those type of things. You should not just be living check to check. I know it's tough out here. I know we are in, people want to say horrible times right now, but you need to learn how to adjust. And everybody needs to have an emergency fund. Everybody needs to have a savings account. Even if you need to get a part-time job or something like that in order to bring in more income to build up those type of things, maybe that's something you need to think about. But you really need to live within your means. You need to have a budget, and you definitely need to build up emergency and savings accounts.
Awesome. Awesome. And Eric, would you be interested in doing if they needed, so those folks out there, they say, hey, I really need to understand the budget. Could you break that down? Would you be open to doing a workshop on that?
Yes, so we're definitely going to do a workshop on that.
Okay, cool,
Like I
cool,
said
cool.
earlier, if a budget is something that you're looking for, just email us at info@thefinancialturtle.com and I will send you a free blank budget. And again, if usually people have a lot of questions with that budget on how to do the budget, and I do free 30-minute consultations to sit back and have a conversation on helping people figure out how to start their budget, any questions that you have that you did not get to ask today or you might have been afraid to ask or whatever. I give free 30-minute consultations on any type of question that you have. It doesn't even have to be about your budget or anything like that. Any type of questions that you have, again, I give everybody a free 30-minute consultation.
Awesome. You heard it. Master Your Money with Eric Anderson. Thank you, sir. Really appreciate it. Thanks for everyone joining us this
Always.
night. This has been great. So yeah, definitely go to thefinancialturtle.com. Please subscribe. Please share this live as well. Also on the YouTube channel, follow Anderson Taxes. Please go there. We got a lot of content. If y'all didn't know, we recorded some stuff and it's coming out this week. It was wildly crazy. You would have
Oh,
seen
wow.
Eric open up and talk about some stuff. It was crazy. It was crazy, you guys. We was doing some stuff behind the scenes. We got a lot of things in store. So I can't wait to drop these videos. It'll be out there. So it's really great, man. You see Eric in exposed and sharing that grit. It's gonna be nice. It's gonna be nice. So
I like it.
definitely follow YouTube, the Instagram, and on TikTok. The Financial Turtle. We'll be able to send that budget over to you. And when you go into the Financial Turtle and you subscribe, you definitely get some emails from us. You get it in, get connected to Eric and all the things he'll be sending out. So thanks everyone for joining us for Master Your Money with Eric Anderson. Our next topic for next week, Eric.
I don't remember. I'll be honest with you. I don't remember.
I thought you do. I thought you do.
No, I don't remember.
So it was credit reality check,
Yes.
right? Habits over repair, right? Those habits, thinking about your credit, thinking about things where your money is moving. So we got a lot of other topics that we're going to talk about. Talk about for entrepreneurs, for those business, for those small business, those tax deductions. I know that's coming up. Tax season is upon us. So taxes for business, for personal, it's coming up. Some more of that, and just 2026 planning, you guys. 2026 planning. And so really mapping out that 2026 on what that looks like. So we got some more lives coming up. If you have any questions or any comments, please go to the financialturtle.com. Email us at info@thefinancialturtle.com and we'll get to you. All right.
All right. Have a great
All
night,
right.
everybody. And thanks for listening.
Bye.